So today I wanted to talk about the Celtics. It's the All-Star break, so I figured it's a good time to kind of give my, not mid-season, but like kind of mid-season thoughts and then what we can expect going forward. As it stands right now, they are currently 38 and 16. They are the 3 seed in the East, game and a half out of second. I feel like this is slightly better than what most people were expecting. I feel like the consensus was, and I kind of thought this too, to be honest with you, when they lost Kyrie and signed Kemba, I figured they would still be a really good team, but I thought their ceiling was going to be a little bit lower. I think it's safe to say that I was wrong, but we haven't really seen the ceiling. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team once it comes playoff time. But basically, my overall thoughts are I don't think the gap between Milwaukee is that big. I would currently rank them as the second best team in the East, and I think out of the other teams, they have the best shot at dethroning Milwaukee come playoff time. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, and I'm not picking them to win, at least not yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think out of the rest of the teams, they have the best shot. I think if we were to get into a series with them, it'd be pretty competitive, much better than last year. They took one last year, and they were close in a couple, and they were a freaking mess. I think they're a lot better this year, and as far as chemistry and leadership goes, and I think that can go a long way. So big thing, and this is kind of old news, I guess. We've been seeing it all year, so we kind of forgot about it, I guess. But Jaylen Brown's been awesome, and so far, I mean, it's still really early in the deal, I know, but he's earning that money that he got. Right before the season started. When that deal came out, many people were upset. Many people thought it was a gross overpay. I was someone who was slightly concerned, but mostly optimistic. I was kind of happy, honestly, that they signed him to that deal. And the reason for that is because I think I saw what Danny saw and a really talented player. He just needed to be in the right environment, and he needed to be more ball dominant. And so far this year, he's proven Danny right. So Danny took a chance. He took a chance in the sense that he gave a player a lot of money who, to that point in their career, hadn't really earned that contract. But why I was on board with it was because, say he balled out the way he is this year, but they didn't sign him to that deal. So his deal ends, and then he gets more money than we gave him. And the thing about that is Tatum's getting the max guaranteed, right? Tatum's going to be here. He's going to get locked up for a long time. Tatum's going to get the max, and then there wouldn't be enough for Jaylen if he also played to that level of getting max money. Basically what Danny did, and this is assuming Jaylen continues to play as well as he has, but what Danny Ainge did is he basically took a chance, and if it pays off, which so far it has, he'll be getting a discounted player for the next 4 years. If he wasn't signed to that deal, he would be leaving at the end of his previous deal because some team would pay him more money, and we don't have that space. But because they locked him up early at a cheaper price, but at a bigger risk, I guess, because he hadn't really earned it thus far, they're going to be able to keep Jaylen Brown, and that's huge. So good job on Ainge's part. Injuries have been really freaking annoying. It seems like they can never be 100% healthy. It's been that way for the better part of the entire year, and it seems like once they finally do get everybody back, somebody or multiple people go down in the same game, and then it's all discombobulated again. So I think the All-Star break came at a really good time. I think a lot of the guys that are banged up, they'll get the time they need to, get back to full strength, and that's going to be huge. So there was a 2-week stretch over winter break where, to be frank, they looked like ass. The Celtics were not playing well at all, and people were freaking out. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying that, they're the same team as last year, which I thought was ridiculous. I don't know how just watching them that you could even think that, but whatever. There was a 2-week stretch early January where it did not look good at all. And I'm going to read it right now because I have it on my phone. So the first game that was kind of the first part of the 2-week skid Was Washington. They lost 99-94. They lost to the Spurs at home, 129-114. They lost to Philly the next night. Then they smoked the Pelicans. They beat Chicago. And then the next 3 games were really bad. They lost at home to Detroit. They were getting killed by Milwaukee the next night. They made it close at the end, but they were down by like 30 for most of the game. And then they lost to the Suns at home. During that stretch, they were a very hard team to watch. It just, for some reason, they just seemed so dysfunctional, but there wasn't necessarily a reason why. Everybody just kind of seemed to be in a slump at the same time, and they were losing because of it. I wasn't really worried. Every team has their rough patches, and I figured that was just another example of that. And they've since bounced back, so they've beaten a lot of good teams. I see a lot of people on social media and within the media say that they don't really have a lot of signature wins. But just to go through the list of teams that they've beaten, and this is a healthy mix of road and home games. It's not like it's only been at home. They beat the Bucks. They beat the Lakers. Actually, they crushed the Lakers. Excuse me. They beat the Clippers. I'll talk about that game a little bit more later. They beat the Heat twice. They beat the Raptors. They beat the Nuggets. And they beat the 76ers. Those are against pretty much all of the top teams in the league. So I think that's pretty impressive. If you don't, okay, I think it is. And keep in mind, a lot of those games, they weren't at full strength. There were games where Brown was out, where Tatum was out, where Kemba was out. There were a lot of those games where they were shorthanded and they were still able to come away with a W. Okay, so the Celtic Clippers game, I'm just going to talk about it real quick because it was awesome and it was the last game before the All-Star break, and it was a blast. I don't think I've had that much fun watching a Celtics game in a very, very long time. I don't even remember. I was losing my mind. Tatum hit clutch shot after clutch shot. It was back and forth. It looked like we were going to pull it out a couple of times, and then the Clippers would get back right at the last second. It was awesome. The back and forth was great. Me and my suite mates were watching together. We were losing our minds. Just jumping up and down, yelling at the TV. It was awesome. I loved it. And Jason Tatum got the best of Kawhi Leonard, and that felt good. So a good goal for this team, it's kind of tough because I feel like it's so weird because they lost Kyrie and a couple other players, but Kyrie was the big one, right? Like he was the meat of what we lost, but it feels like they were kind of like this year, it feels like they're kind of resetting the standard, and we haven't seen this team in a playoff series yet. So I feel like it's kind of hard to put a goal on them when we haven't really seen what they're capable of in year one. Again, I know it's really weird to say because the only real main piece is Kemba, but when you think about it, 2 years ago was when Hayward and Kyrie went down for the playoffs, and Brown and Tatum carried us to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And then last year was supposed to be the year where they peaked. They didn't. It was a big, big, big crapshoot. And it feels like this year they kind of hit the reset button. So that's why I say year one. It's not actually year one, but like it kind of is. But I did say earlier that I think they're the second best team in the East. So I would be happy with an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. I think that's very doable. And I would hope that they would be competitive in that series too. And again, we'd have to see what it looks like. If they make it to the second round, Game 7, and they lose on like a last-second shot, and it's a really well, hard-fought series, I mean, that's going to break my heart, but I'm not going to be pissed off about it. But I think a Eastern Conference Finals appearance and a solid series is a pretty good goal for this team to have. And honestly, I'm being serious. I would not be surprised if they ended up representing the East. I don't see, the only 3 teams I possibly see coming out of the East is the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Sixers. And the Sixers seem to be what we were last year, the dysfunctional team that should be better than they are but aren't. Toronto's a wild card, but I don't think they can do it without Kawhi. They're a good regular season team, but I think you need that star power once it comes playoff time, and I don't know they have it. But to be fair, they did win a lot of key games in the playoffs last year with their role players excelling, and they could do that again. I wouldn't put my money on it. And as I said before, I don't think the gap between Milwaukee and us is all that great. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Celtics were representing the East in the finals. But yeah, I would be very happy with an Eastern Conference Finals appearance in a competitive series. So what do you guys think? What do you expect from the Celtics team going forward into the playoffs? What do you want to see? What do you think of their season thus far? Any thoughts or comments on that, just comment below. Let me know. Be sure to like and subscribe as always. And yeah, go Celtics.